I'm going to share with you today the two phrases that drive me crazy when people start talking about history, usually by people who aren't historians or really interested in the topic. The first one is often attributed to Winston Churchill, but it isn't. There's no evidence he actually said it. And it goes like this. History is written by the winners, or history's written by the victors. One way or the other, you get the idea. Let's have a look at why that doesn't work as a statement.
This is a copy of Herodotus. He is considered the father of history, and he wrote about the wars between Greece and Persia. Thing is, we know that Greece won and lost some of these battles, so it's a very early example of how the victors didn't necessarily write everything down and the losers got no say. Of course, if we're talking about other empires, particularly the Roman Empire, they did fight civilizations which had no history, so that gave them an advantage of writing things down first.
But that's pretty rare. There's the Crusades, for example. The Christians undeniably lost, and yet there are plenty of Christian chronicles about the Crusades.
Roughly contemporary to the Crusades, we have the Mongol Empire. The 13th century was undeniably the Mongols more than anybody else. Their empire stretched from Poland to Korea. So they interacted with many different civilizations, and yet, because they were the barbarians, if you like, they had less written literature. We know far more from the loser's point of view than we do from the victor's point of view.
Indeed, in this situation, we're able to use the losers' histories to corroborate information about what the victors were actually doing, so completely destroying this argument about history written by the winners. Now, who is this knightly-looking gentleman? You probably don't recognize him if you see this statue. However, if I show you this, you go, "Oh, Braveheart, William Wallace." And he's a very interesting case in point, because almost everything we know about the man was written 150 years later after he died. And that was written by a gentleman called Blind Harry, a bard, so clearly it was designed for entertainment rather than for the historical record, and yet it all gets mixed together.
The second statement, which gets again changed around a little bit, but we know this comes from the German philosopher Hegel in the 19th century, which is, we have learnt from history that we have never learnt from history. Now my issue here is, if you want to talk real generalizations, that's true, but it's so generalist as to be unhelpful. Let's look at some specifics that are often used to reinforce this incorrect statement.
Napoleon, of course, failed to invade and conquer Russia, and Hitler was all too aware of that. So when he went to war with Russia in 1941, he made very sure not to make the same mistakes twice. However, both he and Joseph Stalin, of course, had far different technology, and the war went on a lot longer than Napoleon's campaign, and of course the ultimate result was still the same, but it happened for very different reasons. Then there's the American Revolution and the Vietnam War. You may not think that they get compared, but sometimes they do, because of course America was involved in both of those conflicts, once as the underdog and the second time as the aggressor. And of course in both situations you got small agrarian economies fighting massive empires and winning. But of course it happened for very different reasons. The era of muskets and gunpowder can't be compared to helicopter gunships and armoured personnel carriers, so come on guys, let's be realistic about the comparisons.
The thing about a great line is it's just that. It's quotable. It's something to throw in a pub conversation. Doesn't mean it's actually true or have any backing up evidence for it. So I'll leave you with one of my own. I don't know what colour history is, but I do know it's not black and white. Thank you for watching. Enjoy.
Well, why do you think I call this At History Gems? I'm, of course, on Twitter as At History Gems, and exactly the same on Facebook too, where there's always something happening every single day of the week. Want more? Well, I've written a book, The Busy Person's Guide to British History, available on Amazon. See you soon.